My last comment is on the Treasury memoranda and reports by the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, one of the tools we should be using in budget scrutiny are reports by the Auditor General and also the Treasury memoranda itself. And Mr. Speaker, the rules relating to budget process do not deter us from using the reports of the Auditor General, even when the accountability committees have not pronounced themselves on these reports. Therefore, I would like to encourage our colleagues in the various committees to pick interest in the recommendations made by the Auditor General and pick them at the stage when they are relevant. These are the issues we should be raising to the MDAs when we are considering their budgets. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Chiboga.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I also join the House in congratulating you, your successes so far. Now, I just wanted to quickly add and to allay fears of our colleagues regarding these alternative statements. And I don't know whether it's just to our Natural Resources Committee, but we've always found it very, very informative. And over and above whatever else may have been presented, we have always allowed slot in scrutinizing the ministerial policy statement for the shadow ministers to present these reports to the committee. And normally their input somehow influences the thinking of the committee on the policy statement of the ministries, even where whatever they may have presented has not been captured. And normally actually that finds its way eventually on the floor of Parliament in terms of the recommendations of the committee. So I think it's very helpful, very informative, and one of the tools over and above the Auditor General's report, which is helping us in scrutinizing the ministerial policy statement and also the budget framework. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. I have the Honorable. No, I can't see properly. Oh, yes. Please.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also congratulate you on your success and welcome you back. I seem to have a small problem with the previous speaker from the other side when he said that most of the recommendations this side were similar, and it seems to suggest that we may take it at that. But I think if you say most of them, then the few could have an adverse effect on the economy. And as you all know, we don't die from many diseases. You can also just die from one. So I would suggest that we do not think that, we take it seriously and take the recommendations and actually analyze each one such that even those ones that are just similar, we take the similarities, and then the other things that are not similar, we also take them seriously. Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Members. We need to draw this to a close. I'll have Honourable Mawanda, Honourable Katuntu, then I come to the Minister. Oh, Kajara has already picked you as well. Okay.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Briefly, Honourable Members.
Right Honourable Speaker, to add on what Honourable Cecilia Ogwara has said, at times the government does respond to reports in the form of Treasury memorandum, but also as Parliament we take time to accord this Treasury Memorandum an opportunity to be discussed. A case in point, the COSASE report about the closure of commercial banks. Government did respond. We have a Treasury Memorandum from government that was submitted to Parliament in August. We have been asking for opportunity by Parliament to give us a chance to debate that report so that it's not overtaken by events. Up to now, you can imagine from August up to date, that report has not been brought on the floor of Parliament for us to debate. It is my request, Right Honourable Speaker, that we specifically give an opportunity to that Treasury Memorandum. It is very, very important because there are some recommendations that were supposed to have taken effect immediately, which up to now, nothing has been done. So it's my request that I know we have a serious schedule, but kindly accord some time to that report, that Treasury Memorandum, so that we can be debated and we take it to another stage. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Katuntu.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Karibu back to the House and congratulations. I stood up earlier on really to raise the same issue which eventually the Honourable Jakamai raised. The budget process is the most important activity undertaken by this House every year because it touches the sharing of national resources. Given the timelines, the tight ones as you have earlier on read out, sometimes we end up doing many of these things as ritual without taking into consideration the seriousness of the process. That's why, Right Honourable Speaker, you'll find that when the policy statements eventually come, it is sometimes copy and paste of those of the previous years. They just change years and so on, but it is the same thing. And it has been happening time and time again. I think, Right Honourable Speaker, through you I want to speak to government. Let us have a paradigm shift, really to take this process very seriously. When you've got these alternative views coming in from the opposition, some of them actually policy differences. You may be in a position to say, well, you propose this, but we don't agree with you. That is okay, because you have a manifesto for which we assume that's what the country chose. So, but we need some accountability on the part of government to what extent they have taken the alternative views from the opposition seriously. Because this is the only choice we have. This is the only forum we have for you to pick these alternative views and they enrich the process. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I think we are also being over-optimistic that this time left, as you have, we are going to take this process very seriously. It will involve actually burning midnight candles if we are to take this process seriously. Otherwise, if people just walk in, tomorrow they run with the documents around, we don't even have time to scrutinize them, and it will be business as usual. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Kajara?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I join the rest to welcome you back to the House. I can't say from where, because I don't need to answer that question. Mr. Speaker, I do welcome you to the House. And I want to say that the response from the Leader of Opposition should have been debated together with the report concerning the budget framework paper. And when they say the recommendations are not always captured, indeed, they might not be captured because we have not debated this response in depth. That would augment that response from the opposite side and then would attract evaluation from the government side. And that would cause the clear digestion of that statement and the other report for the ministries and agencies to act. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, when it happens like this and people complain that their recommendations are not captured, it means we have to change the culture and we have to make sure those two, the report and the response, come together and we debate both of them. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would ask your guidance on this matter. Now that the response has just come when it is late, are we allowed to debate such that we augment it from the other side and scrutinize it from the government side, such that it gains strength and whenever it reaches any office, it goes with that strength and then it is captured as the opposition expects. Otherwise, if we do not do that, we are talking today, but even next year we shall find that nothing has been captured. And it will be the weakness of Parliament, because it's our job to make sure that everything which comes to this House is really put into practice. Mr. Speaker, I seek your guidance on that. And if it is allowed to debate this response, then, Mr. Speaker, you give us a chance to scrutinize the response from the government side and then the opposition
situation. Ordinarily, as you rightly stated, this response should have come before the 20th of January. Because by the 20th of January, the committees, the sectoral committees are ready to report to the budget committee. And that's where the challenge is. The timeline there is a bit tight. Budget framework paper, 31st December. And usually for ministerial policy statements, we give 14 days for for the alternative policies to be submitted. But in the case of the budget framework paper, we don't have 15 days, because if you give 15 days from the 31st, that comes to about 15th or 14th of January. And already the committees are under obligation to report to the budget committee by 20th. So you have only 4 days. That's the challenge that we have. But given that the budget framework papers are normally brought to Parliament actually before, my experience has been that we have always received them before the 31st of December. Sometimes the 20th of December. The last time I checked in the other financial year, they brought it on the 20th of December, which would have given us more time. I think we are going to have to be practical in the way we handle this so that we can all be participatory in this budget process. If we are to wait for the timelines that are within the law, sometimes we hit the tail of what is going on. And that is why we don't have to wait for the 15th of this month to bring the ministerial policy statement. It's a deadline. As of now, I would have loved if the Honorable Minister of Finance was going to tell me that, Right Honorable Speaker, by Tuesday these things are going to start pouring in, or by this afternoon they're going to start coming in. That would really please my soul. That would be the way to go. Yes, Honorable Minister. And we conclude this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also join my colleagues in congratulating you upon your re-election as a Member of Parliament and for the good performance for the NRM party in the northern region of this country. The second point is I want to thank the Leader of Opposition for the alternative statement she has made regarding the budget framework paper. Mr. Speaker, we were supposed to receive this statement, the dates that you have mentioned, and we agreed with the Leader of Opposition that there was no problem to present this after the process, after we have considered the budget framework paper and she graciously accepted, and I'm glad that she has lived up to our expectations. I also want to promise her that we shall also live to what we promised you in ensuring that what you have put in the budget framework paper alternative is incorporated in the policy statements to the extent possible. Those that we can accommodate, and those that will wait for the government in waiting will have to wait for the government waiting. But those that can be accommodated now will have to be accommodated. The third point is on what Honorable Cecilia Ogwar raised, and I think it was also mentioned by Honorable Musasizi. But Mr. Speaker, when we were considering the budget framework paper, which lays the priorities for the budget per sector, many of the committees actually interrogated the performance of the sectors. They interrogated the priorities for the sectors. So as the policy statement, ministerial policy statement come, it will actually be easy for the committees who did that work. For example, I normally face the chairperson of finance committee. Most of the work for the budget, he has already finished because he has interrogated the priorities, and so therefore it will be confirmed now whether these priorities are actually in the ministerial policy statement. So I think if we worked like that, and if the members on the left hand of the House also continue to monitor what's in the policy statement, then all the views that we're talking about will be incorporated. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the issue of the audited accounts by the accountability committees. Government, we have done our part, because the law requires that when you submit these reports to the House, make recommendations, the executive should make the Treasury memoranda and bring them back to the House for consideration, stating what recommendations you have been able to implement, those that you have not implemented, the reasons why you cannot implement them. All these memoranda are actually in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, I request that at an appropriate time, we dedicate time to discuss these Treasury memoranda, because the executive has done its part. What remains now is a part of the House, and we are here to attend to any queries or questions that will come out of those memoranda. I thank you, Mr.
The policy statements? The policy statements? No, the policy statements.
I want to state that, Mr. Speaker, we are committing that we shall do better than we did last financial year. Thank you. And we are going to start receiving them next week. Next week, we don't have to wait for 15. And from here, those ministerial policy statements that are ready, we are going to start forwarding them. I hope even ours of the Parliamentary Commission will be the first to come in next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, you know we changed the way of bringing them to Parliament. We requested them to be late so that a date is known and the transmissions are done to the committees from the chair of this House. So we expect these policy statements to start coming in time to help us proceed properly. Next item.
Item number 5 on the order paper, statements by ministers. 1 on the steps taken to address causes of landslides in Buvuma district.
Honourable members, this I have looked at them again. These are questions which were urgent questions. So we cannot treat them as ministerial statements. We treat them as questions raised under urgent matters, Rule 42, where the person who will be responding to this will answer it in the format of responding to an urgent question, not a full statement that you are going to talk about everything under the sun in that sector. So you restrict yourself to the question and the response to it as an urgent matter. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I congratulate you on that chair. It's nice to see you there. And I pray that may the will of the Lord be done in your life. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm here to respond to queries raised by honorable members. I have a number of them. Don't know whether you would allow me to present them all and then the response comes at a go, or one by one. It is welcome.
No, right now is Buvuma Island, causes of landslides. Briefly. Then the
Thank
next,
you.
and the next.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues in the House. The response is also already uploaded, and I'll go as such to respond. The honorable member of Vuma raised this issue, and we are responding. One, giving the background that, as we are aware, Uganda and the Lake Victoria Basin in particular has experienced intense and prolonged rain with no clear dry spell since April 2019. In less than 8 months, Lake Victoria water level rose by 1.57 meters from 11.91 meters in October 2019 to 13.48 meters on 19th May 2020, recording the highest ever recorded lake water level in 124 years. Indeed, Buvuma district, being an island in Lake Victoria, has been greatly affected by the rise in the water level. Furthermore, water bodies, rivers and lake and wetlands, swamps in Buvuma district constitute 40% of the total area of the district. While the northern part of the district is flat, the southern side consists of sloping lands with many undulations where 75% of the land is less than 600 degrees in slope. The highland has 12% of land with 120 slopes. This in particular, Nairambi sub-county, affected by the landslide, is the most populated sub-county. That is 21.4% as per the UBOS 2014 records. And it has conflicting activities to the good environmental practices as a result. Right Honorable Speaker, there are several factors that triggered the landslides in the district, specifically for the case in point in Buvuma district. This particular district receives one of the highest and intense rainfall in Uganda, and many times experience continuous rains for days. The mean annual rainfall in Buvuma Island is 11,000 millimeters, with peak seasons in March to May and September to November. However, due to the unusual continuous rains within Lake Victoria Basin from last year through the months of March, April, and May 2020, topsoils on the high slopes are saturated with water, making the heavy soil loose and resulting into landslides. Mr. Speaker, then the environmental degradation has a toll on this due to an increasing district population size. Tremendous pressure has been exerted on the natural resources through uncontrolled timber logging, wetland encroachment, charcoal burning, pollution, farming activities, and the settlements. In particular, Bukiyindi wetlands in Nairambi sub-county has been converted for agriculture. Right Honorable Speaker, several interventions have been made by my ministry. When these landslide incidents happen, the technical officials from the district, led by the district environment officer, on the 24th July 2020, visited the scene and the affected people of Kihindi community in Nairobi sub-county. The community admitted that large visible cracks had developed on that elevated slope mountain for quite some time, and these were early warning signs of an impending landslide. They were informed that the first earlier landslide occurred on the 22nd May 2020 as it was raining. Although the unfortunate event resulted in the loss of property, including houses, gardens with crops, the fortunate part was that no life was lost. About 72 people have been affected, 60 hectares of land lost. Frequent landslides has since continued to happen with continued rains. Residents in the affected villages have been strongly advised to vacate the slope to safety, since the entire slope was at the verge of collapsing. The district local government and central government is aware of this recommendation. Vacation of the dangerous slopes prone to landslides, submergency, and flood is immediate to save lives and property, as the ministry responsible for disaster preparedness and relief finds ways of providing relief and settlement and resettlement. The next long rains onset is on, and landslides might continue occurring as such. So, Speaker, as part of the technical backup, a field visit was made during the month of September 2020 by the Sectoral National Technical Team to all floods affected districts in Uganda, including Buvuma district. This was intended to assess on the ground impacts of rising water levels, landslides, and the floods in Uganda as a whole. While in Buvuma, Right Honourable Speaker, the Buvuma district headquarters, the team was briefed on the challenges facing the district, including landslides that has caused loss of property and displacement of persons. However, the team could not assess the affected landslide sites because the roads were quite impassable. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that Cabinet, during its meeting on the 20th April 2020, had recognized that Uganda was faced with national challenges of rising water levels and floods due to unpredictable, intense, and prolonged rains in the region. Cabinet formed a cabinet subcommittee to address the issue of rising water levels and associated floods and their impact on people, services, and infrastructure. The subcommittee, chaired by the Right Honourable Prime Minister, comprises the Minister of Water and Environment, the Energy and Mineral Development, Agriculture, Animal Industry, and Fisheries, Works and Transport, Local Government, Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Health, Education and Sports, Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Defence, Internal Affairs, Information Communication Technology and National Guidance, Health, Education and Disaster Preparedness and Relief. The subcommittee established the multi-sector national technical task team spearheaded by my ministry. The team were tasked to prepare a national action plan and provide technical advice on how to deal with issues of rising water levels and associated floods, landslides, and their impact on people, services, and infrastructure in the immediate, short, medium, and long term. Right Honourable Speaker, the National Technical Task Team has since prepared a response action plan considering the following priorities, among others: to step up monitoring and surveillance early warning system, provide relief and resettlement packages, tighten enforcement increase awareness campaigns aimed at sensitizing communities on risk reduction and resilience initiatives. Support restoration of degraded water catchments, demarcation of high-risk zones where settlements should not be allowed in some slopes unless the ridge has thick forest cover. The immediate National Action Plan was endorsed by the Subcommittee of Cabinet for funding. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament of Uganda in June 2020 approved the supplementary budget amounting to 45 billion to address immediate interventions caused by the rising water level and floods. However, these funds have since not been released by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. This has hampered response to provide the required services as raised by honourable member. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are doing everything possible to ensure that these areas are responded to if funds allow. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. Honourable member who raised the matter, do you have any supplementary question? Has it been answered properly?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, when you read the order paper, it is the Minister was supposed to give interventions. And this incident happened in May. I raised the issue in June. The team visited the districts, and according to what I get from the Minister, they were unable to reach the affected area. And the reason is the area is inaccessible. As far as I know, the area is accessible. And one of the prayers I had that day, in June 22nd, was the Ministry of Environment help in relocating these affected people. Half of Buvuma is a land belonging to National Forest Authority, and it is forest land. Yes, that's half. The other quarter is for palm oil production. So you have just a quarter left. So I expected the Minister in her response to indicate to Parliament that they have reserved an area, maybe part of the NFA or nearby, where they have actually relocated these people. Because that's one of the first prayers we have, even before Furu comes. 2 weeks ago, we had a second landslide in the same area. So the situation is worsening, and maybe the other time we never lost a life, we may actually lose life. So my appeal is that the Minister and maybe the Minister of Technical team should actually visit the area, because the area is accessible. And also calling upon the disaster ministry, because the other prayer, the second prayer was that relief assistance should be provided. Up to today, not even a single blanket, not even a single kilogram of posho has gone to this area. And it is almost coming to a year. So there is some unseriousness that the Minister is exhibiting here, and let me hope it is not the unseriousness of government. So we need action, not these task forces and so on. We need action on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. You see, the thing about these things is that sometimes you're not even required to come back with a statement to Parliament. What you come to say, this is what we have done. You see, because these explanations, when the problem still remains, it actually does not respond to the question, because they raises an urgent matter that requires you to go there, solve it, and come back to Parliament and say, we have done this so far, we have the following challenges outstanding. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honourable colleague. It is indeed sad that we are not able to reach there. But I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that one, the prayer is saying that I should have come and said part of the forest can be used for resettlement. Mr. Speaker, and the House, there are procedures of changing this natural resource into use. But as government, we have heard so many of those voices that when people are really suffering, what should we do? And I want to say that there's some engagement to that effect which is in cabinet. Once it is concluded, probably we can respond. But normally, there's a procedure of turning a natural resource into a settlement. However, I want to confirm that government is concerned and is looking into where to try to settle our people when these disasters occur. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, the prayer of the colleague that they needed some help. I do agree.
Point of order.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, and with all respect, Right Honourable Speaker, we are talking about an emergency. And what the Honourable Minister is saying that, there is a procedure that is supposed to be followed. When an emergency occurs, all the other procedures, most of the procedures are supposed to be put on the side. They wait. And the issue, what is supposed to go on is how you save lives. So is the Honourable Minister in order to substitute saving of lives with the procedures? The Honourable Minister in order. Should the people continue dying because there is a procedure? The Minister in order.
Honourable members, the issue is this: there was an emergency. It happened about 1 year ago. But there's a recent one which is being brought right now, that there was a recent landslide in Buvuma Islands. I think this is the problem we have with when urgent matters are overstretched in terms of response. We start considering things even which were not part of what was raised. From their intervention, they knew that this certain thing should happen, but the emergency phase by that time had gone out and attended to. So on that one, I'm saying, Honourable Minister, what you should have dealt with today, there was an emergency. What did you do? There's now a new emergency. What have you done? I think that's where the question is. And then there are other long-term solutions, because there will be long-term, there will be medium-term, and what is the short-term thing you have done to protect these people from just starving to death? I think that's the essence of this question. So you have not proceeded very well on this matter. Please, proceed better now.
Noted, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable colleague, my response was not like I'm downplaying the suffering of the people. As a government, as I have already alluded, my chief whip is here. We are putting in place some of these suggestions so that we can do much better as we are preparing for the coming rains. For the request of my ministry visiting the place, since it is now accessible, I really have no problem, my honourable Member of Parliament, to come and assess the situation myself as we prepare for the oncoming rains. I hope the last question of some intervention since it happened. We know that we can liaison with the Minister of Disaster and Relief. My chief whip is here to take that so that something is delivered to our people. We do care as a government. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
5.2, statement on the delayed completion of Kahenje water supply and sanitation system in Rukunjiri district.
Direct response, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Honorable Muzanira, the woman MP Rukunjiri, raised this issue and was brought to the House. Right Honorable Speaker, I remember this issue was raised and we responded to this issue. It's just only being repetitive. I don't know why it came up, and I was here. I'm here to confirm that personally I responded to the issue of Honorable Muzanira, and maybe I can give the current position as it is, because I have ever personally responded on the floor of Parliament. Then that will take us that, one, all the fittings about the delayed water works, all the fittings were now delivered, installed. We have already installed them, and the contractor is testing this installation, and within by 15th March, Right Honorable Speaker, we shall have the plant running.
Thank you.
Two, by 15 also, and after a month after 15th, this project would be available for the community of Rukunjiri to enjoy, Right Honorable Speaker. That is by 15 April, the people of Rukunjiri shall be able to enjoy these facilities, the services as it comes. That is what I have to respond to, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I'm just being informed that there was a similar project in Rukunjiri and one in Ntungamo. Is that correct, Honorable Minister? The one in Ntungamo, what has happened to it? So that we don't come back to this again. The similar project, one for Ntungamo.
Mr. Speaker, my response as an order paper has been drawn to the attention of what I've presented, and if the member is raising another substantial query, I'm happy to come back and respond even tomorrow or next
Kajara, please, when you at your own time, please talk to the minister so that she knows what we are talking about here. Honorable Minister, please, next item.
Item number 5.
Oh, you are the one who raised the matter. The member is here. Yes. Member for Rukunjiri District.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And on behalf of Rukunjiri and on my behalf, congratulations and welcome back. Right Honorable Speaker, last year, February, this Honorable Minister made a statement on the water project of Rukunjiri, that is Kahenje Water and Sanitation Project. And he gave the assurance that on 1st May of 2020, the people of Rukunjiri will be enjoying the safe water. This is why I repeated the question. But up to now, our people are still dying because of water-related diseases. Recently, I don't know whether she's aware, this project was handed over to be completed by the National Water Sewage Corporation. And today, my prayer is that the government give us confirmation and assurance as Rukunjiri people on the date when these people will enjoy the safe water, other than spending money on the project, which is endless always. And they give us statements here on the floor of Parliament, yet the people keep dying because of unsafe water. The assurance she has given today by 15th, I'm not sure. I don't know whether they have finished the memorandum of understanding with the National Water and Sewage Corporation, which is taking up the project to complete it. And we would like to have a statement why the first contractor left, the one who was supposed to complete it by May 2020. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
I think the issue which we are going to take up with the minister is take our word that 15th of this month, this matter will be solved and water will be running. If you don't show up with it.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My honourable friend, the colleague Betty, we have been talking about this thing even behind the Parliament, and I just want to reaffirm that what I've given you here, as you have directed, Right Honourable Speaker, we shall have the people of Rukunjiri enjoying the service. If not, I will have maybe another reason to come back and explain for why there's change of the project. Mr. Speaker, we had challenges with COVID. Last year, you know, the project couldn't be on schedule and the contractors could not do their work. And besides, National Water is an agency in my ministry. It is a government agency. So I'm talking authoritatively that is the same government which has assured the people of Rukunjiri, come 15th April, you will enjoy the service.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item.
Statement.
Did you say 15th March or 15th April? 15th April. 15th April. Next item.
A statement by the Minister on the action report on Chiwura Central Forest Reserve.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The issue which was raised on Chiwura Central Forest Reserve, I wish to respond as such. I refer to the directive by the Right Honourable Speaker to present an action taken by the Minister, my ministry, to evict encroachers in Chiwura Central Forest Reserve. Right Honourable Speaker, Chiwura Central Forest Reserve covers an area of 2,147 hectares and is situated at Mbale County, Kayunga District. This is one of the forests which government has earmarked for reforestation by private sector. Mr. Speaker, as I had earlier reported that in 2019, NFA picked information that some certificates of titles had been created on the Central Forest Reserve with the intention of alienating part of the whole of the Central Forest Reserve. NFA had responded by deploying environmental police to stop the activities of the encroachers and filed a suit in the High Court of Mukono against the Semuga, Badru, and two other defendants challenging their occupation and claim on Chiwura Central Forest Reserve. Right Honourable Speaker, the Semuga Badri transferred his title to Modern Agriculture Intra Limited on the 3rd July 2019. Modern Agri Infra Limited, in addition to the title acquired from Semuga Badru in Chiwura Central Forest Reserve, also holding the following titles in the same Central Forest Reserve. 1, he had a freehold register volume MK 0790, folio 22 block on Bugerere Road, 153 plot 153 block 50, plot 31 at Kirasa Bale Kayunga district, measuring to 587,470 hectares. 2, Right Honourable Speaker, the freehold register volume MK 316, folio 1, block, road on Bugere Road, plot 153, block 153, plot 32 at Kerasa, Galilaya, Mbale, Kayunga district, measuring 215,101 hectares. The same boundary. 3. Right Honorable Speaker, freehold register, volume 1324, folio 12, Bugerere Road, block 153, plot 2, at Nakabale, Kasosokwe, Kayunga district, measuring 551,265 hectares. 4, that is D, he also holds a freehold register, volume 1258, folio 4, Ugerere Road, block 153, plot 1, at Nakabale, Kasonkwe, Kayunga district, measuring 452,420 hectares. Modern Agri Infra Limited sued NFA in a separate case in a civil suit number 18 of 2020, and Mukono restraining NFA from interfering with the use, possession, and enjoyment of the land, the titles totaling to an area of 1,806,318 hectares. Mr. Speaker, as earlier reported, Semuga Badru had also obtained a court injunction against NFA in a suit number 102 of 2019 on plot 9, block 14 in Chiwula Central Forest Reserve, measuring 406,492 hectares. Mr. Speaker, my ministry and NFA are restrained from evicting the encroachers by the 2 court injunctions covering the entire Kiwura Central Forest Reserve. We are therefore constrained from proceeding with eviction. Mr. Speaker, personally, I took my team and we went to this area for inspection. That these are the constraints we still have on this issue. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, you will realize that the minister's first statement was that the Chiwula Central Forest Reserve covers an area of 2,147 hectares. But now you can see that she has even gone to 1 million hectares in part of her statement. I think the reading was, and so let the record show that the reference to 215,000, it's actually 215.1 hectares, and 551.256 hectares, and 452.482 hectares, and so it is 1,806.3 hectares, not 1 million. I think that's the correction we need to make on the record, so that we don't end up with a land that is the size of the whole country, and yet we are talking about the forest in Mbale County or Mbale. So let's make that correction so that the records can be corrected accordingly. Thank you. Next item. Honourable members, we are going to be taking a break for lunch, and we'll be resuming at 2 o'clock, but let's receive one more statement. Yes, Honorable, can I finish with one statement, then I take the urgent matter from Honorable Semuju?
Statement by the Minister on the impending eviction of encroachers from Mount K Central Forest Reserve.
That would be the last statement we are receiving. Then we have an urgent matter from Honorable Semuju. Then we can break and come back.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker. The encroachers, the pending eviction on the encroachers from Mount K Central Forest Reserve, as it was raised by Honorable Driwaruzu Zaitun, Woman MP of Parliament for Moyo District. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member, Yumbe? My apologies once more, Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker. Raised the issue pending eviction of the communities of 3 sub-counties in Yumbe district, and the need to stay the eviction exercise for 3 months pending reallocation of the affected community and consultation of the local leaders. Right Honorable Speaker, the Central Forest Reserve affected is Mount K, situated in both Yumbe and Koboko district, covering 40,689 hectares. The reserve was established under the legal notice number 100 of 1938 as a core conservation forest, and is separated from South Sudan by River Kaya. The reserve is surrounded by 4 sub-counties, namely Ludara in Koboko district, Nindingo, Kei, and Nkerwa sub-counties in Yumbe district. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to the BIMAS study conducted in the reserve in 1996, this forest was largely intact. However, by 2017, over 40% of the forest was encroached on, and the encroachment continued as more people from South Sudan, DR Congo, and the immigrants from the surrounding districts of Maracha, Koboko, Arua, and Yumbe, and the Balalo cattle grazers from western Uganda entered into the reserve for settlement, grazing, and cultivation. There has also been notable increase in the illegal activities, especially the charcoal burning, grazing, and illegal timber cutting and logging, targeting endangered Aphezelia africana. And it is estimated that 2,000 people also reside in this Central Forest Reserve. It is this dire and escalating state of degradation in Mount K Central Forest that led the NFO management to engage the stakeholders in Yumbe and Koboko districts to plan and execute a durable strategy to remove all encroachers in the reserve before the onset of the rains in March-April 2020. The ongoing efforts to address the encroachment in Mount K Central Forest Reserve began in December 2018 when NFA team led by the executive director met district leaders in Koboko and Yumbe and appealed for support of the stakeholders to secure Mount K Central Forest Reserve from encroachment. Mr. Speaker, throughout 2019, continuous engagement with the local leaders was done, and the calls by His Excellency the President for encroachers to vacate the Central Forest Reserves and the wetlands. NFA gained the support of the leaders in the 2 districts to free the Central Forest Reserve from the encroachers. Mr. Speaker, by October 2019, joint field inspections involving Yumbe district officials and NFA was conducted in the Central Forest Reserve to enable the stakeholders appreciate the seriousness of the degradation. This led to the resolution that indeed all the encroachers should be persuaded to vacate. This was followed with several meetings to convince the stakeholders and plan for the best strategy to remove the encroachers. Right Honourable Speaker, on the 15th January 2020, Yumbe District Forest Protection Task Force, chaired by the Residence District Commissioner and comprising of all the members of the District Security Committee, sub-county leaders, community leaders, and NFA, was formed to steer the process of removing encroachers from the Central Forest Reserve. The task force has since sensitized community through the radio talk shows and community meetings to persuade them to voluntarily vacate the Central Forest Reserve. The task force also set a deadline of 15th February 2020 for voluntary vacation of the Central Forest Reserve, and any encroacher found in the Central Forest Reserve after that date will be arrested and prosecuted according with the National Forest 2003 and other relevant laws. Right Honourable Speaker, this process has been participatory, involving all the stakeholders in the district, and to date, no forceful eviction has been carried out. There is support to the process by the stakeholders, including the security agencies, that is the police and the UPDF, and the local government leaders, who have continuously participated in all the field activities and meetings. Formation of the task force has helped to demystify the negative elements who are encouraging the encroachers not to vacate the Central Forest Reserve. Already several encroachers, estimated at 50% of the total number, have heeded the message to voluntarily vacate the Central Forest Reserve and have moved out of the reserve. As I mentioned above, most of these people are from the neighboring districts and South Sudan, who know where they came from. Over 15,000 hectares of the gardens have been abandoned as encroachers leave the reserve, paving way for restoration of the forest vegetation. Colleagues, Right Honourable Speaker, my prayer then that we all support this exercise that has taken more than 1 year to plan, engage the stakeholders, and peacefully execute. I also appeal to you, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, to help in the effort to free other Central Forest Reserves from wanton encroachment done with impunity across the country. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There is a matter from the person who would be entitled is the person raising the question. But for now, let me take the Honourable Semuju with this urgent matter, and then I make some announcement. We need to break now for lunch and come back we'll continue this afternoon. Oh, Yumbe. Oh, that's Yumbe, yes. We want Yumbe. Are you? Okay. Please come, Honorable. Oh, yes. You know, the lights are too strong. I can't.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to also add my voice that thank God you have come back, and congratulations for winning, and thank you also for good performance.
You people, you make it sound like I had gone somewhere.
Yes.
I have not been anywhere. I've been in the building here.
Okay.
I have not been anywhere out of the country or in the village.
You were not visible, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I share the border with the sub-counties mentioned in Yumbe. My home is in Lodara sub-county. I have gone through the facts raised, But one thing which seems to have been left out is the fact that the people who have encroached on this forest are not only coming from outside. The population in these sub-counties has grown. The fact is, the people, in fact, if not 50% or more of the people who have encroached are people who are already in these sub-counties because of lack of enough land now for cultivation. So I want to tell the minister that it will be good to, I think, involve all stakeholders, including the members of parliament in both Yumbe and Koboko, because the issue of land is a serious issue. You cannot drive people away from where they are surviving to where? The question is, where are you going to relocate them? It is not true that these are, the people are all coming from Maracha. Yes, they are there, but that's a negligible figure. The fact is, our people need land for living. They need land for survival. And therefore, the proposal that we need to evict them may not be a viable, especially for those who now live on that land. I beg to submit.
Honourable Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, these are the dynamics we have in the country that we need to balance between conserving the environment for sustainable development and then allowing our people to go to open places or central forest reserves. I do appreciate and understand the dilemma our people are in. But the fact also is there, Right Honourable Speaker, that we need to preserve our central forest reserves. If we allow people to go, even illegally, to go and settle in all the forest reserves, we shall have nothing. We need to understand as a government that we are trying to see how people can settle where they are sustainably, rather than even encouraging people to go and encroach on the environment. This would be, actually, colleagues, it will be a big disaster for this country if we allow all our people to go in. We have seen people who are well-to-do even go into that, in the forests, wetlands, all along the riverbanks. And the effect of climate change is here with us. And as leaders, we have a duty to rightly sensitize our people. I appreciate my brother saying we need to engage you, the members of parliament. But the engagement will be that we need to be firm and on the fact not to encourage our people to encroach on the environment. They need to be told the truth. We need to conserve this environment. Because if the group as leaders and the people that you see you have nowhere to go into the forest, these are the problems. And my appeal is to be a Speaker.